Inevitability. When searched, the first definition to pop up is the quality of being certain to happen. You could call it fate or destiny. It doesn't really matter. My relationship with fate, destiny, and inevitability is a complicated one. I have battled the idea of it for quite some time, and recent events that have unfolded and are about to unfold are making me question my ideals. There is no need to go into the situations at hand, but I would like to make a short essay-like video to not only sort the idea out in my head, but to just create something and put it out there. Perhaps this will one day start a discussion, or I can simply look back at this and see how things have changed. My full and current stance is, while some things are inevitable, such as death, aging, and experiences, I do not believe that there is a set path we must abide by. As a believer in God, I believe we have free will, and while we cannot control everything, we can control more than we think. There is some topics I'd like to cover within this essay. These topics being the things that are inevitable, free will, and control. Let's start with the first thing I mentioned. The things that are inevitable. When I ask myself this question, I kind of struggle to find many answers. Death is obvious. Everything in this world is temporary, and everything will eventually die. My truck will eventually run out of gas, the batteries of my watch will eventually exert all that they have. All memory will fade, day will turn to night, and night will turn to day. All of it really boils down to death, or the end, so there's not much for me to say. So, moving on to free will, this has been something I have only recently started exploring, as well as pretty much every idea I have. I'm young and there is much to think about. The hardest thing is just trying to stay out of ignorance and expand my mind. Anyways, free will. To me, free will contradicts the ideas like fate. If you choose what path you take in life, how can it be predetermined? God sees all and knows all that will happen, and all things happen for a reason. While I think it is true that God sees all things and has knowledge of all that can and will happen, I do not believe that all things happen for a specific reason. But I do think that we can learn from every experience. Everything that happens to us has so much more to it, it feels. As much as I love the idea of free will, there are still some things we cannot control. We can't control other people. As much as we harness it, we can't control things like nature. I feel like we only really need to control ourselves. And that's all that honestly matters. Sometimes we can't control how we feel, but we can always control how we act. Of course, there are some exceptions, such as entering a flight or fight response, where the body seems to enter an autopilot-esque state. With that aside, I have thought about our nature and why we feel like we can't control ourselves a lot of the time. I don't exactly have a well-developed answer, but humans are part of nature, not above it, and follow a lot of nature's rules. We're roughly more than half just water, which is crazy, and I sometimes feel like we behave quite similar to water. If you ever notice the behavior of some people, it's like they just form to whatever glass they are in at the moment. An adaptation that is instinctual and sometimes subtle. We flow with the most natural and easiest route. Water falls and doesn't fight gravity, and I don't think we should either. But I don't think the easiest route is the best either. Thankfully, that is where sentience kicks in, and we choose our own path. And honestly, that's all I have to say. I'm not too sure how deep or shallow to go, as this is my first video essay, but hopefully it's not my last. Real quick though, I'd like to go back on my previous statement on control. As I recorded this and looked back on what I said, I believe I was wrong. There really is not much we can control, but at the end of the day, I don't think that matters, and it shouldn't be an excuse. Thank you for listening, and have an amazing day, evening, or night, wherever you are.